What is happening, you guys? Welcome back to the Let's Go Win podcast, where we are here to help you be happy, healthy, wealthy, and get better every single day. We're going to do a deep dive today on a subject that I've talked about before, and it's something that if you were to ask me, what are you great at? This is one of the things I'm great at when it comes to discovering the proper culture for your business. Now, culture about 10 years or so ago, it became a very popular word where people are saying culture, culture, culture. Look, you have a culture at your company. It just may not be the one that you want. So, one of the things that I help companies do is define what their culture is. Because if you don't do it, it's going to happen for you. And that doesn't mean that it's going to be what you want. Here's the other thing. When you're doing this, it's really important to get buy-in from your team, because you could say, this is our culture. I'll use, you hear happy, healthy, wealthy all the time. So let me use another one. Courage, fun, and love. Those are three cultural values of my family. We chose those because when my wife and I and our two sons sat down, we decided to do what I would do at any business event. We started just spitfiring out what words were most important to us. We had a huge list. I don't know, it was probably 100 words. And then we started saying, okay, let's look at what's most important for you, and do any of these kind of go together? Because the goal was to get down to three values. Now, why is three so important? Three is so important because after the three, you have the law of diminishing return, i.e., we forget. So often when I come into businesses, I'm like, okay, cool. Can you tell me about your cultural values? Well, hopefully they can. Most of the time they can't. But if they can, cool. And then they'll give me a list of like 10. They'll find some sheet of paper and they'll say, oh, here's all our values. Well, there's problem number two. It's too much. We have to make it so simple that everyone, from the CEO to the brand new person on the job, everyone knows exactly what the cultural values are, and that they could literally regurgitate it. They could repeat it to you like that. Now, I'm speaking from experience because my companies were not always that way. However, when we got down to three cultural values, the companies took off, because it helps everything that we do. It helps you with your hiring. It helps you with your firing. It helps you with, rewards. It helps you with punishments. I mean, literally everything in your business. When we get clear on what your culture is, it makes everything so much easier. So that's what I want to deep dive on today. I hope you guys are ready. Buckle up. Let's take some notes and have some fun. So as you guys know, on the previous episode, we talked about mindset, right? And one of the things that I write on my bathroom mirror is having a growth mindset. My company values happy, healthy, wealthy. Those are the values. However, I also have a mantra, or we have a mantra, and that is, we have a growth mindset, we get better every day, and we win as a team. Now, you might ask, JM, what's the difference between the cultural values and the mantras? Here's the difference. The cultural values are innate to who we are. When I'm looking for somebody to be on my team, I am looking for people to want to be happy, that want to be healthy, and want to be wealthy, okay? Or it's to the core of their DNA. When I look at the mantras, or I look at how we show up and behave, it doesn't mean that we always have a growth mindset. It means that we want to. When you're doing your values, you want to be very clear and distinguish what is innate to us, as in to the core of our DNA, right? So I have a company, growth, grit, and gratitude are the three G's. And they decided that growing was one of the most important things that they were in business for. So that meant if you didn't have that growth mindset, you just weren't welcome on the team. Grit. Angela Duckworth wrote a great book called Grit. And literally, they've determined that It is the most important value you need to have in order to see anything through, is that ability to persist and have grit, that grittiness. And then the gratitude part I loved, and they did this on their own. They said, we want to show up and be grateful for what we have and thankful for the community around us. So if you're sitting there scratching your head going, gosh, I don't even know where to start, you're not alone. Just gather yourself around with, maybe it's your top executive teams, or I've also seen companies take a couple of executives, a couple middle tier, and then a couple brand new people. Now, why would they do that? Well, they do it very simply because they get representation from everybody in between. Because let's just say the company was started by, a few people 30 years ago. Well, guess what? If you're trying to attract new talent to the business, you may want to have their input. So if you're sitting there, you're like, I don't even know where to start. You're going to start by grabbing, 3 to 9 people. No more than 9. That's way too many people, honestly. I would say probably 3 to 6 is perfect. And you're just going to start throwing words up on the board. And once you figure out, like, okay, you'll circle the ones that really resonate with everybody. And you'll continue to bring it down until you find the 3. Once you do, and once you get buy-in from everybody in that room, now we're going to go put it out to the rest of the team and the workforce. And here's what'll happen. You're going to have people that are like, that's not who we are. Okay, that's fair. They're probably not the right people on your team. I've seen it right away. I don't believe in that. Great. I appreciate your time. There's the door. Because this is who we are. This is who we are. You are clearly not the right person. So as you come up with this process, just know, don't be afraid of it. Get a whiteboard, get a bunch of Red Bulls, a room, and you guys just go to town writing this stuff out. And you'll get down to those 3 core values that are so important. Where do we screw this up along the way, leaders? We screw it up when we don't take feedback. When we talk about having these 3 to 9 people in a room, you need to establish this is not a monarchy. This is a democracy. Now, you may have a little meritocracy going on where the CEO, maybe his opinion is weighted a little bit more than somebody that's been here for, a couple months. Fine. But we value everyone's opinion 100%. And when you receive feedback, you got to remember, this is pure gold. When somebody is willing to tell you where your company sucks, that is way more valuable an employee than the person that tells you how great it is all the time. What happens, though, is often, leaders, I need you to take a look in the mirror for a second. Our egos get in the way. And we start to believe that our opinions are so much more important and valuable than everybody else on the team. Now, you could argue that point because you're responsible for paying the bills. You're ultimately one of the founders probably that came up with the idea. But here's what's happening. If you're not getting feedback, and if you're just continuously, or if you're getting feedback and you're not hearing it, do you realize how much wasted time is going on behind closed doors? People talking about how out of touch you are as a leader, how you don't take care of your employees. I mean, guys, I've seen it I'm watching it with companies that I coach today. What I want you leaders to hear and be aware of is watch your ego. Watch how it feels when somebody checks you on something and says, your company's not awesome. In fact, this is where you suck. Are you like ready to fight? And so you don't hear what they have to say? Or do you say, thank you so much. I didn't see it that way. I really appreciate it. So I'm not saying that you have to have radical transparency as one of your values. But I would offer to you, if you want to have significant growth within your company in a short period of time, that you make it a safe zone for people to operate in. So Google did a study on this. They figured out what do the most the world's most effective teams have. There's three things. Number one is trust. Okay. Hopefully, when you bring somebody onto your company, that they trust you enough because you're literally responsible for their financial well-being and their families. So you hope that you have a little bit of trust. But if you don't, get to work on it. The second thing is what's called psychological safety. Psychological safety means that people are willing to speak because they're not afraid of the repercussions. Because when they give honest feedback, that they feel heard, that they feel that you're actually going to do something with it. And then the third piece is that they have equal speaking time in meetings. If you can get to this point where you are not just the one, like what I'm doing right now is I'm just the one talking all by myself, talk. But imagine if you're the one that's talking in the meetings, the only person. It's a really ineffective meeting. If you want to really grow your company, I'm just giving you what I see the most where I'm like, you guys are missing the boat here. It comes down to not listening to feedback and your ego takes over. So leaders, I need you to hear it. Be willing to take the punch and not fight back, but rather just say, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. It doesn't mean that I'm agree with you, right? I get feedback all the time. It doesn't mean I have to agree with them, but I will thank them every time because they're willing to put themselves out there to better your company. You know, when I've watched leaders struggle with coming up with the values of their company, typically it's because they didn't get clear on what they really value, right? So for instance, there's three things in the world that I value more than anything. It's freedom, both financially and time-wise. Love. I want love in my life. I am not looking to surround myself with drama. If you do, guess what? You'll probably be cut out, which if you're listening to this and you're like, we don't talk anymore, you might be on that drama train. And the last one is abundance, right? Because I lived in a scarce world for many, many years. It's not fun. I believe in abundance, man. This world is all about it. When I got real clear on what I valued, now I can help create the values of the company. Because here's the deal. I value freedom. So if I want freedom, I'm not going to take on something that's going to require me to work, 120 hours a week. That would be the opposite of freedom for me. I told you, freedom financially and freedom time. It's not just freedom financially, it's freedom time-wise as well. So when I make these decisions of who I'm going to work with, I utilize that mindset or that focus that, okay, I'm going to do my values, happy, healthy, wealthy. That fits inside of what I value most, freedom, love, and abundance. And now, wait a minute, I'm building a company that I actually love. Now, you guys maybe have heard me talk about this, but the second company, we might have crushed it financially more than any other company, and it was freaking miserable because it didn't have the freedom. It certainly didn't have love. I will tell you that. Not that they were bad human beings, and the abundance was not there because where we really didn't agree as business partners is because it was all about just holding on to as much money as possible. That's not abundance, man. Abundance is sharing with everybody. There's enough in it. Look at the name of my company. Let's Go Win. It's not JM Go Win. It's literally Let's Go Win. It's all about abundance. So it's even, and if you take it a step further, it's even created the way that I work with people, right? I will take, instead of getting paid a guaranteed paycheck, I will take a percentage of the company, whether it's equity or profit share, because I believe that we are going to grow it. I'm willing to put my name on the line and my ultimately what I create with you because I believe in what we're doing so much. I believe in the freedom and the love and the abundance. So get clear before you start doing the values of your company. Make sure you spend time with yourself to say, what do I really value as well? One of the most important questions you can ask yourself is, when it comes to these values, if someone doesn't have them, do I bring them on my team? The fast, quick, short answer is don't bring them on your team. they are going to be a headache for you. And again, let's just go to the happy, healthy, wealthy, just because that's an easy one. If you are doing an interview, and behavioral interviewing is the best way to do this because it allows you to ask questions. I wouldn't say, "Hey, do you believe in happiness?" Yes, of course. Everybody's going to say yes. What I would say is, can you give me an example of what really makes you happy on a day-to-day basis? And if they can't come up with one, they don't believe in it. Or they're not aware of what makes them happy. So they probably they're not in alignment with me. So when you get so clear, because here's the deal: there's 8 billion people in the world. Do I think for my company I can find 20, 100, 1,000, 10,000 people that believe in happiness, health, and wealth? I sure do. Now, do I think that there's also billions of people that don't believe in it? Absolutely. But guess what? That's just a filtering process. Don't look at, and here's one of the biggest mistakes we've all made. And I will raise my hand. I am guilty of this. I have hired people based on a badass resume where you're looking at it, you're like, damn, this person is smart. They're creative. They've done all this cool shit. Okay, great. But if they don't have the values, it's going to be a problem. And every time that I have compromised on this, it has come back to bite me. So once you come up with these values, use that as a filter to, if they don't believe in one of your values, don't bring them on. It doesn't make them bad people. Doesn't mean you're right. Doesn't mean they're wrong. It just means this is what our company values, and this is how we expect you to show up on a day-to-day basis. And if they don't believe in it, it's going to be a long, long haul for them to come to work every day. I hear often when I go work with companies or I speak, I talk about cutting out the cancer, right? If you have people that are entitled, or I did a video on this, one of the biggest videos I've ever done. If you have somebody that's entitled, you need to remove them straight away. Why do I believe that? Well, my first company, my number one salesman, and by a long stretch, was actually a family member, is my brother. He was 2-to-1 and almost 3-to-1 higher production than everyone else on the team. And the problem is that he didn't adhere to the culture that we were building. And so I'm sitting at this moment where A, it's my brother, B, it's my top performer by a long shot, and he was being disruptive to the culture of the office. Well, here's what was happening. Everybody was watching myself as a leader allow this behavior to happen. Guess what? Now they think they can get away, or they choose to get away with it. Or if I'm not staying accountable to what I told them, well, why should they? So here's what's crazy. When I ultimately parted ways with him at that company, the production of the office within 30 days was 30% higher than when my top performer was there. So don't tell me, guys, that you have to hold on to them for production reasons. I hear you. I've been there. I'm telling you right now, it's one of the biggest mistakes you're making, because everyone else, their production is going to be lower because of probably some of the actions of this superstar. And if you don't want to cut them all together, okay, I've heard that too. Hey, they actually do represent the company. They're just not good on the team. Then put them out to be a lone wolf. It's okay to have superstars out there representing the company as long as they're not spoiling the whole barrel, right? So have the conversation like, hey, superstar, you know what? I'm going to actually give you your own workspace. You can be out there, go crush it, but you're not allowed to be with the team because you're not in adherence with everything else. That would be the one caveat I would give you. If you can't let them go, okay, cool. You need to remove them. So you remove them from the team will start to rise up, and then eventually you'll probably let them go anyway because they're a pain in the ass. Once you come up with your values, here's the number one key. You need to repeat it and repeat it and repeat it. The most recent study says it takes up to 66 straight days to create a new habit. Typically, most businesses aren't working 66 days straight. weekends, Saturday, Sunday, most people have that off. So it's really tough to repeat it 66 straight days. So here's what I've decided is in every meeting, when you start, you talk about what the cultural values are. When you reward someone, you reward them based off one of those values. When you have to have those crucial conversations, you relate it back to how they didn't show up with one of those values. It's going to reinforce it to the point to where now it becomes a habit for everyone on the team. So there's no amount of repetition that you can do. That's why every single episode, you'll hear me start with, this is the show that's here to help you be happy, healthy, wealthy. You know why? Because I want people to know if you don't want to do that, get the heck out. It's okay. Look, it's not personal. I want you to know what this company is all about. I want you to know what we stand for. And by the way, it also gives you the chance to hold me accountable. Hey, JM, you didn't show up very happy. Got it. Thank you so much. You're not being healthy. You're whatever. I did a video recently. I was a little more overweight than I wanted. So guess what? Every morning, 5 a.m., we're attacking the gym, man. We're doing 2-a-days right now. And so we get back to that health that we need to be at. And so it just helps everybody to hold you accountable. So if you're sitting there and you're like, okay, what do I do now? Sit down with your team, do the values. Now, once you create every single meeting, start with those values. Don't be afraid to repeat it again and again and again. And then do yourself a favor. 90 days down the road, randomly, anybody walking by say, hey, can you tell me the 3 cultural values of our company? And if they can't repeat it immediately, we're not there yet. So remember to have fun while you're doing it. This isn't something that has to be really, like it's got to be super academic. No. Just what are you feeling innately, what intuitively, what's speaking to you? Do that with your team and then start to repeat it. I would love to hear if you're struggling with this. Not that I want you to struggle, but if you need help, this is what I'm good at. I'm good at building teams and culture. So DM me, hit me up like, JM, I'm struggling with getting to my values. Cool. I will work with you on it because you deserve for your company to show up as the very best version of itself. And the only way to do that is to be clear on what your cultural values are. So let me know if you have thoughts. I would love to hear them. And good luck doing it. I appreciate you all. Enjoy an amazing time until the next time we talk. Appreciate you. See you.